Hey guys, this video has lots of spoilers on the video game Deathloop. If you haven't played it already, it's probably best to skip this video for a while and come back to it. If you haven't played it, you do need to check it out. It's a really great game. And if you have played it, then yeah, enjoy the video. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Script Department. This is John. I'm joined here by Caleb today, who's going to be talking with me about Deathloop, the video game. Before we get into that, if you're a fan of this sort of thing and you want to check out more of what we do check out our website, thescriptdepartment.net, where you can find all our latest episodes of our podcast. You can find all of that at thescriptdepartment.net. You can follow us on social media, check out the links in the description, and also subscribe to our podcast and our channel if you haven't already. Just search for The Script Department wherever you get your podcasts. Okay, Caleb, let's talk about Deathloop. Arcane Studios gave us Dishonored, Dishonored 2, and Prey. A lot of people have been telling me to play Prey, but it doesn't seem like I'm gutsy enough to jump into that game.
So with Prey, why do you not feel like you're gutsy enough?
I checked out the trailer, checked out what people were saying about it, and I'm a total coward when it comes to those kind of games. And it did feel like it was going to be a game that was too kind of tense for me. I don't know. Have you played it?
Gotcha. I have not, but I've seen the opening level, and I thought that was pretty interesting, and didn't realize that Arcane made that game, and only had known about Prey from the Xbox 360 era Prey. So yeah, did not know all the stuff behind it.
Yeah, no, Arcane are one of those companies that kind of surprise you when you look at the stuff they've been doing. And I think they're part of Bethesda as well, aren't they? And so, I mean, it's just, they're surrounded by great talent. And, I platinumed Deathloop in 2 weeks, which I think tells you everything that you need to know about what I felt about this game. We'll get into your thoughts on this game in a second. But before that, what is your experience been with other games? You said you hadn't played Prey. Have you played Dishonored?
I have. So I played about an hour of it last night for the first time. I just wanted to dip my toes so I could at least have an experience with their earlier stuff. So to like kind of have the lens of playing Deathloop and then hopping back to their old stuff and seeing how that informed what they've created now and moving forward as a company and the dev team. I don't know who laid over into the future projects from the earlier projects. So
yeah, Dishonored is one of those games I'd heard so much about. I bought Dishonored 2 twice. I bought hard copy, and then I ended up getting it digitally again because I thought I wanted to give it another chance. I really wanted to love Dishonored, and it's not, and I don't mean that to sound like I don't like it. I was not good enough to even get past, I don't know, the first few stages of the game. And Dishonored 2 as well.
Really?
Like, that's why my experience of Deathloop, I kind of kick myself for waiting so long to play this game, because I said, the minute I found out who made this and the minute I saw gameplay of this, I think State of Play or whatever it was, I thought, this isn't for me. This will be a great game for somebody else who loves Dishonored. Deathloop is not for me. And I just put it into the back of my mind. I said, well, that's not going to be a PS5 launch title for me when I eventually get my PS5. And I just feel so stupid because it is I imagine my experiences of playing Dishonored tell me that this is very similar in terms of gameplay. But for some reason I there are very few games I feel I can master, and I felt I mastered Deathloop. Whereas it's a miracle I didn't rage quit, throw my controller at the wall or whatever when I was playing Dishonored. And it's a brilliant game, but I just was so bad at playing it. And I don't know.
Is it the stealth mechanics or what is it?
I think it's first person stealth is the problem. I think it's the idea of, okay, I can jump up to that or teleport up to that window or that ledge, and then suddenly I'm just caught by everybody. And I think maybe I'm not clever enough. I've come to realize over the years that I love games, and people find this hard to believe when I say this, but it is possible to love games and not be good at games. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I love games to death, but I'm not very good at games. And I jump out of my seat when I find out that a game might be platinumable. Is that even a word? When I feel like I can get the platinum
Isn't
trophy on a game,
it?
I feel like wow, this is actually a game I might actually be able to get the platinum trophy on. So
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with this game. It'd be interesting to get somebody who's like really, really kind of, I don't know, somebody who's like really mastered the Dishonored franchise, and
Mhm.
get them to talk about their experiences with Deathloop. That'll be interesting. If you've played Dishonored
Yeah, yeah.
and you've played Deathloop, and I don't know, you've got something to kind of comment on that, leave it in the comment section, because that'll
Yeah.
be interesting to kind of see what people have to say about that. But you know,
How did you feel Deathloop compared, like, difficulty-wise? Because obviously there's that learning curve, but how was it beginning for you?
so this was the thing. And I've taken a long time to get to this point, so I'm sorry. But I put off Deathloop because of that fear that I was just not going to be good at it. And it was 10 out
Yeah.
of 10 reviews, left, right, and center, potential Game of the Year award contenders, all that kind of stuff that made me think, okay, Black Friday sale, I'm going to get it. And I got it,
Yeah.
popped it on. First hour of that game, I thought, oh my God, this is exactly like Dishonored. I've made the biggest, I've made such a mistake here, And
Yeah.
and then an hour later, I was just a badass in the game. Something about the
Yeah.
learning curve of this game is incredible.
Yeah.
You go from
Yeah.
nothing to, like, you go from really struggling to just incredible in no
Yeah.
time at all. And it's so much fun because of that. What was your
Yeah.
experience with that?
So I am a gamer. I play somewhat on, like, a lot of online games, somewhat hardcore games, but I don't, like, try to, be the best or have like a clan or anything. Um so my experience difficulty wise was pretty smooth sailing the whole game. Um Almost to the point where it could have been a little bit more difficult, but then I would get killed randomly and be like, okay, well now I got to start the loop over, and I was so far into that stupid Charlie's game, and I would mess that up and ruin the loop and then have to restart. So it was kind of a good balance, I think, because just whenever I thought it was too easy, I would get too lazy with my playthrough and ruin something. So I think there's a good balance there.
Tell
Um,
people listening, if they don't know what this game is about, tell them what this game is about.
so it's about Colt, who wakes up on a beach and basically relives the same day every day. Um, and to break this loop, he has to kill all of these visionaries, is what they're called, within the same day, and then he hopes to break the loop.
And it's all
I
set
believe.
on an island. And if I was to describe it as, it's 4 stages that you will play again and again and
Yes.
again. And if you die, you go all the way back to the beginning and you lose everything
Yes.
unless you've, done your kind of your due diligence. And you will kill the same people again and again and again. And everybody's exactly where they were before. And it's a first person game.
Depending on what time of the day you're there,
Depending on
though,
what time of your
which
day,
is interesting.
which
Yeah.
is, but also you can set your watch, like you can learn
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
in this game, like. And to make matters worse, a player can come in and invade you. Another player, like I could come into your game and
Yeah.
screw up your
Yeah.
whole progress, right?
Which I saw there is a friends element, like where
Yeah.
you can join a friend's game.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it yet, but
But doesn't that sound like it could be the worst game on the planet, or the most frustrating game on the planet? You know what I mean?
it does. Yeah. Yeah.
And it is a lot of people's game of the year. It's, I know Forza, is it Forza Horizon? It's kind of
Yeah.
it's kind of taken a lot of the Game of the Year awards. But before that came out, I think,
Polar opposite games.
yeah, totally. But before that came out, I think Deathloop is a slam
Yeah.
dunk.
Yeah.
And for, I think PlayStation fans, PlayStation users, it is their Game of the Year for a lot of people. I
Yeah.
would not have guessed that from the beginning.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's
Yeah. Well, and I think what's interesting is it does kind of feel like a smaller budget.
mm,
It doesn't have your big cinematic cutscenes. The story isn't super complex. It's all contained to the same 4 levels. Even though like it's somewhat open world within those 4 levels, it's not a true open world, which
mm,
so many games have just resorted to lately.
yeah.
Um, so I find that refreshing because it isn't that. It's so meticulously designed
mm.
to be played over and over and learn forward and fail forward. That it's I think that's what makes it so playable and replayable, which is interesting. That I heard this game design or I heard it uh, that it was compared to um, like a grindy game, and I didn't think about grinding while I was playing that game until I heard somebody liken it to that, and
Yeah.
I, I hate grinding,
Yeah.
but I can see it.
Yeah, you see, I came off Demon Souls and went straight onto this game. And
Yeah,
if you haven't played Demon Souls is very much that old school approach to game design, which is it's hard. The game is constantly trying to push you back. It's very much, it's very unforgiving, and
yeah,
the satisfaction comes from winning. The satisfaction comes from being able to get that step forward that you couldn't get before.
yeah,
Um, and I went straight into this, and I was like, wow, this is exactly the same as Demon Souls in terms of its actual principles, the design
yeah,
principles. It's
yeah,
it's very much the idea of we're going to punish you for making a mistake. But I think the difference is we're going to make it in a way where you're not afraid to make mistakes. And we're going to do it
yeah,
in a way
yeah,
where it's not about learning how to beat the boss, or it's not about learning how to where the enemies are going to be. Like, I think a lot of Souls games are built on the idea of it's more about
yeah,
just remember there's a guy hiding behind that corner.
yeah.
Whereas
And
in,
you have 2 hits until he's gonna strike,
yeah,
and then you got to block.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah,
it's very much a memory retention experience.
yeah,
There's definitely components like that in Deathloop, but Deathloop is very much in the idea of empowering you as early as it can within the conceit of within the confinements of the narrative. It
yeah,
wouldn't make sense in the narrative for you to be guns blazing from the very beginning, like some games would.
yeah,
But as soon as the game can afford to give you power and to give you weapons and to give you opportunities rather to take them, because that's one thing, that flexible freedom is a kind of word thrown around quite a lot in game design, but this does give you the freedom to kind of approach how you want to power up, how the kind of weapons you want to accumulate, and so on. It doesn't really affect your kind of trajectory through the story, through the game, I think, that much. In the end, it's not going to be long before you'll get all of the kind of the same stuff as everybody else anyway. But it is very much the
yeah,
idea of
yeah,
let's empower the player so they can have fun with this game. I don't think I have
yeah.
fun with Demon Souls. I don't think I have fun with like I love The Last of Us, right? But I don't have fun with
Yeah,
that game. I immerse myself deeply into the world and the
yeah,
characters, and I have that great emotional connection with them. And it's
yeah,
tense and
yeah,
it's exhilarating and all that kind of stuff. But I don't feel like I can just screw around and have fun. I
yeah.
feel like I can have a lot of fun with Deathloop, and yet it's a game that for many is like, oh, don't mess up because you go back to the beginning. But it's not
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
like that actually. It's
yeah,
I always remember when I was a kid, everyone was talking about Metal Gear Solid, this game about a guy who's got 24 hours to save the day, right? And
hmm
And I remember thinking, I remember saying it to a friend of mine in school. Oh, is there like a ticking clock? Because I always hated games that had like ticking clocks in them. And he said, "Oh no,
Yeah.
that's just the
Yeah.
story. That's just the story." And I remember, oh, okay. So then I bought the
Yeah.
game, and I love Metal Gear Solid. Uh,
Yeah.
this feels very much like the loop mechanic. It isn't. It's very much a part of every aspect of the game. Like it's embedded into everything. But what's great about it is you can skip. Like if you died in the evening, you can just skip back to the
Yeah.
evening again. So it doesn't punish you. It doesn't make you
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
travel all the way through the day again, which I think
Yeah.
lesser game designers would have done that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that another point to that is whenever I first started the game, I was like, if I wake up on this beach and have to walk up this hill, open this door, pick up the hack-a-majig, every single time I am going to put this game down.
Yeah.
And then it's like what, 3 loops in, it's like, okay, you wake up on the beach and then it cuts to your menu screen. And I was like, thank God. And that's good game design because they knew that at some point this is going to be too much.
But
So
isn't it clever that they don't just do away with the whole walking back from the beach after the first go? They wait a few times. You know, they make you wait. They make you do
yeah,
it 2 or
yeah,
3 times, as you say, and then they
yeah,
kind of say, "All right, we'll shortcut you to the menu, and you can just jump into where you need
yeah.
to go." And I think what's
Well,
great.
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say what I think is great about that is it allows you to still hold on to that idea that there is a punishment of sorts if you die and you have to reset the
Yeah,
loop, even though there's really not.
yeah, yeah,
You know, it's not really that. There's no real punishment. You're not actually going all the way back. You are in terms of the narrative, but your gameplay experience doesn't actually go back.
yeah.
In that sense. And
Mm-hmm.
but they've made you walk walk that path on the beach so many times, or just enough times
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that it feels like you're doing it every time. And I thought that was
Yes, yeah.
that's really clever actually. When you mentioned that, I was like, yeah, because I had that exact
Well,
same feeling.
and it's so integral to like the ending of the game, which we can get into which ending
Yeah,
each of us chose. um,
yeah. Let's.
but yeah, like, but setting that up for the ending is so important because, and which this is where I found a lot of um, critiques on this game was in the ending. Um, so I think that that's kind of interesting that a lot of people didn't feel like the ending was
Mm.
effective. So,
We'll get to the
what ending did you get?
we'll get to the ending
Okay.
later, just because I want to talk
Okay.
about the journey to get to that point.
Gotcha.
What so one of the things I really love about this is and to me this is what I'll get to what I think is the master stroke of this game in a bit, but I really love the characters of this game. I love the
Yeah.
journey of
Yeah.
getting to know these characters, because that's what this game is, I think, offers you that other games don't. It
Yeah.
is there's one other thing that they offers you, and I'll get to that, but I think the thing I love about it is I loved getting to know the characters. And what I mean is, like,
Yeah.
so every time you start a new day, Juliana, so you're Colt, you're being hunted by Juliana, who's trying to stop you from killing these other visionaries. She doesn't want you to break the loop, and she knows you've been doing this again and again and again, and so she's always talking to you on the radio every time you every time you kind of start the new day. If you died in your last attempt, she'll make fun of you for dying. If you succeed in getting a new power or an upgrade, she'll kind of go, "Oh, you think you're all powerful now," and she'll wind you up. And it's very, very well written in that regard. But there's
Yeah.
also, I love the visionaries as well. I thought they were so well developed. You've got,
Yeah.
and I've written down all the names here because they're kind of hard to keep track
There are
of.
a lot.
There are a lot of
Yeah.
them. But you've got Wenji, who's an architect. She's the architect of the loop, and she's a scientist. And is she the one that has all the duplicates of herself?
Yes. Yeah.
So she's got.
She was the first one that I killed.
Yeah, I think she's the first person you have to kill.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But
That's not the experience I had, and we can talk about that. Because I stupidly went down a different path, thinking I could, I killed,
Outsmart.
I killed two visionaries, and then killed Wenji, because the game tells you have to kill Wenji, as kind of like to get the story going. And when you kill Wenji, you die as well. And so everything that I had done just went back to I had to start all over again. I was just, oh my god, worse than having to walk on the beach. I just thought, oh my god, I've lost all my weapons, all my gadgets, all the powers that I accumulated. It
Yeah.
was so annoying. And but then you've got others like Alexis, who's the financial backer, but Alexis also has a recording studio, I think, if I'm right.
Yes.
And then you've got, or is it? No, Frank is the one.
Is
with
he
the
radio?
Yeah,
Frank. No, yeah. He's the radio host or something.
Yeah, Frank has the recording
gets
studio.
on the radio.
And then you've got Fia, who is the visual artist and supplier, is what the description I've got here. I can't remember Fia at all.
Yeah, Fia is a very small, like fast-tracked storyline for my playthrough.
Yeah, I can't remember Fia at all, actually, in that. Charlie Montague, I think, is the standout one because he's just got so much going on. He's got this incredible AI program that he's created in his castle, and his castle is like just a scuttled apartment building, but it's been designed to look like some sort of space invader video game.
Yeah, isn't it like it's like a LARP basically, right?
Yeah.
That's what he's like creating.
Yeah, everybody's just in role play, and if you listen in on if you eavesdrop on characters talking and NPCs talking, like they'll give you some really great little nuggets of kind of what they're doing and how they really feel about what they're doing, and they're just kind of, some of them are just like, why are we doing this? And it's really great. And then but then he's in a relationship with
Fia.
Oh, it's Fia. Yeah. He's in a relationship with Fia.
Yeah.
And what's so amazing is it's like this really weird kind of, dare I say, like an abusive relationship, that like she's the abuser. Because when you eavesdrop on them, when you finally track them down when they're together, she's like torturing him a little bit or something, and he's like not enjoying it at all, and he's like, please stop or whatever. And it's I don't know if you picked up on that.
Yeah, no, I did. And I mean, the time where I really picked up on it was whenever I went to go kill them together. That conversation is hilarious as you're trying to sneak around them.
Yeah, it's so but it was also unexpected because you're kind of fed this idea that they're the lovebirds and that they're these kind of they're off doing their thing, and when you go there, it's like, wow, we better put a stop to this, and and I killed Fia by connecting her, because you can use this power to connect the two of them together, and I killed one of them, and then she died, but I still felt a real connection.
So poetic.
I still felt this great connection to the character, even though I never even came within like viewing distance of her.
Yeah, that was one of the things for me, was I didn't know what a lot of them looked like because I wouldn't get very close. And there's no, like, they die pretty easily, which is interesting design, that they're not like a boss fight. Like, you can go in and kill some pretty early on, pretty easily.
Headshot.
Yeah. So yeah, the way that I really started to learn how they looked was through like the loading screens and one of the images on maybe the home screen.
Yeah, and there's these really cool animations whenever you get to the end of a kind of a thread. They show you like an investigation thread, because you have to kind of find clues and piece together what's the best way to kill, because the ultimate puzzle here is I've got 8 people I need to kill across 4 windows. I've got morning, afternoon, evening, the morning, noon, afternoon, and evening, and I've got basically 4 windows to kill 8 people. How do I do this? I need to group them into as few opportunities as possible, or as few places as possible, so that I can get them all quickly and efficiently. And that's how you break the loop. And it's a really great puzzle to work through. And
Yeah.
the and that's why, you want to make sure, okay, Charlie's having a relationship with Fia. Okay, that's great. If I can get them together, then I can pick them both off at the same time. And it's you learn a
Yeah.
lot about them through those investigations, and then they give you these little animation graphics, which are very well done, very imaginative, quite fun,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and they really set the tone of this story, which this game could easily have been portrayed as like hell on earth. This could have been portrayed as a real tragic story about this guy just
Yes.
doomed to repeat and just kill and kill. Movies like
Yeah.
Live, Die, Repeat, the Tom Cruise film,
Yeah.
has that moment where it kind of everything slows down and becomes this kind of montage of him just watching people die again and again. It kind of affects him negatively. And it could very easily have gone down that road. And it doesn't. It stays light, and it stays very, very,
Yeah.
very lighthearted all the way through things like those animations.
Yeah.
They had the budget, I'd say, to do a really cool cutscene or something, and they chose instead to do
Hmm.
very, very like fragmented animations and motion graphics kind of
Yeah.
things. And it's really, really, really strong. But the point, the thing that
Yeah.
I took away from all those characters is, like you say, you don't see their faces, and yet
Yeah.
you could make me a DLC chapter where I play as one of those characters, or where I play with one of those characters. I'd be so excited, not because I love the
Yeah.
game, but just because these are great villains.
Yeah.
I
Like,
think they're
and
villains. I mean, you know
kind
what I
of
mean?
breaking the loop of those characters would be so much fun to play as, like, because it's handing that agency over to the player, and then say you get to play as Alexis and do just the craziest stuff throughout that loop. Yeah, no, I think that would be a great
I think they could. I think it.
DLC.
Yeah, I think they could. But I think that just speaks to just how brilliantly written all the characters and their relationships in the story. They're not
Yeah.
just a bunch of bad guys who work on this island and each of them have their different abilities. They hate each other.
Yeah.
Some of them hate each other. Some of them love each other. Some of them,
Yeah.
you have to kind of manipulate to get them together and all that. It's so good. It's so well written.
Some of them want to be loved by another, right? Is
Yeah.
it Wingy?
Yeah, that's so true.
That like wants to be invited, I think. And so that's part of like the near the end game, I think. One of the last things that I did was get the Alexis recording and convince Wingy to come to the party. So yeah, I think that's you're manipulating these characters that they've written.
Yeah.
So
I guess we're knee deep in spoilers at this point. The ending of this
yeah.
is, I didn't realize, you're talking to me as if there are multiple endings. I didn't realize there was.
Really?
So what was your experience?
So it's all basically the same up until if you pull the trigger or not.
Okay, so just to backtrack, you get to you've killed all the visionaries, and now you got to go kill Juliana, the woman who's been taunting you the whole time. And you get to her, and then
you walk in, there's this big lead up to like your final confrontation. Do we want to, I feel like going into this, it's important to address like the information that's revealed before going.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, yeah, spoilers.
Okay. So like it's revealed, for me, I think you can reveal it at different times, but for me, it was pretty near the end game. You read the document and it says that Lila had a child, basically. So Colt puts together that Juliana is his kid, and then there's some funny dialogue after that, which kind of is weird. But it reframes the whole story of why you're trying to break the loop, and then which leads into the final visionary that you have to kill and the final confrontation before like the end game. So I'm walking in. It gives you the option of should you kill Juliana or not to break the loop. She gives you a gun, and basically the choice is pull the trigger or don't and see what happens. So I did not pull the trigger. What did you do?
I pulled the trigger way too fast. Like I mean, I
Really?
waited for my
Really?
moment. I waited for it to,
Yeah.
I didn't skip any dialogue or anything like that, but I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
couldn't wait to pull that trigger because I was on no, but not because I hate that character. I think Juliana is a fantastic
Yeah, yeah,
character.
yeah, yeah,
I think she's amazing, but
yeah.
I was just on such a roll where I was like, I got all the visionaries, and now I've got it. It was like trophy hunting. I was
You're drunk with
that's what
power.
it was. It was like this.
Yeah.
You've given me this fuel to kind of just send me on this path. It was like I'm not
Yeah.
stopping now. No way.
You're a terrible
I
person.
know I'm a monster. But it
Yeah.
was, and then what's the last scene that you see?
So this is like what your choice
Mm.
changes is so I whenever I didn't pull the trigger, I was so non-committal in pulling the trigger that I thought I accidentally pulled the trigger. Like I was kind of like had some pressure on it, but then let up
Like that
because I was torn.
in very cinematic
Yeah,
fashion. Yeah, you just
yeah, yeah,
uncock
yeah.
the gun and yeah.
My wife's sitting beside me and has no idea what I'm going through. So, but so yeah, it unlocks the final scene where you wake up on a beach. For me, um, I'm gonna have to remember the dialogue, but you wake up, turn around, and Juliana walks you on the rocks on the beach. She walks up from behind you and stands with like the sun backlighting her, and
Mm.
it's supposed to be this beautiful scene. And she's like, I don't remember her first line, but basically just says like, "What do you want to do today?" And then they like kind of have a joke of her calling you dad, and he's like, "Yeah, that doesn't feel right." Or no, he says that like you can call me dad, you know. And then she does, and he's like, "That feels weird." And then she like kind of presses that and says it again, and there's kind of a funny back and forth, which just for me was a nice
Mm.
ribbon on the
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Um, but I like the idea of the two different endings because, like you said, which we can get into once you talk about your ending, that the game doesn't go full like it has fun with itself, it's lighthearted, and it doesn't go full dark. But I feel like the ending sort of does um, for the other ending. But so you can go
Yeah,
ahead
so
and
my ending was basically, yeah, you go in and you've got this kind of duel where you both point your guns, or I'm pointing my gun at least, and as soon as I had the chance, I pulled the trigger. I, waited for her to stop, waited for her to say her bit, and then I just pulled the trigger because I just thought, um, I've come this far, and then basically what happens is you have to kind of jump off the ledge or something like that to kind of break the loop or to kill yourself so that the day is over. And when you come back, or when you wake up on the beach, she's there standing next to you or standing in front of you, and then I can't remember if she says anything. She says something very minimal, and Juliana, and it's really just smart. Whatever, like the way it was written. I can't remember if anything what she says is that profound, but it was very. I just remember it being great restraint. Do you remember the last line of what she says?
on your ending
Yeah,
or
I remember.
hmm.
It's fine, but I remember her saying something very very simple and subtle, and and just think, wow, okay, that's good. I might be remembering it wrong, but anyway, she's on the rocks. She just kind of walks away, and it's almost like she's disappointed. I thought
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
better, like
yeah,
I thought you wouldn't pull the trigger or something. And it's not like how could you or anything, because the game opens with you
yeah,
being murdered by her. Like the game opens with you being brutally murdered by
yeah,
Juliana and then being sent off onto the loop, being sent
yeah,
on
yeah,
the adventure. And I thought, it's funny that it just kind of ends with her going, "Oh, okay," and I love the way it
yeah,
subverts the way we should be feeling about murder. Like it opens with her brutally
yeah,
murdering you, and she's all like
yeah,
high and mighty throughout the game, as if like she hasn't done
yeah,
anything
yeah,
wrong, and then at the end she's just kind of like I thought you were better.
yeah.
I was convinced.
That's
Oh, sorry, go on.
Um, so one of the other lines that I forgot about that she says, like, whenever she's like, "What do you want to do today? Do you want to like?" She makes a joke about Alexis, I think, and says something like, "Do you want to drop him? Like, maybe grab some drinks, drop him in the meat grinder." Which I don't know if you found a meat
Yeah,
grinder
yeah,
or
yeah,
killed him
yeah,
that way,
yeah, yeah.
but that was pretty fun. Oh yeah, because you got the platinum,
Yep.
right? Uh, so, but yeah, so in my ending, it continues with that like um, death gloriness.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
So
it's really cool. The just everything about it. And I was really worried by the ending because I thought this is a game that feels like it's taking the simple approach to storytelling. And
yeah,
it is. I mean, it never tries
it
to get
is.
too
Yeah.
deep or too complex. They've got great material to work with, but they never go.
Hmm.
They never, I think, extend themselves or take risks. I think with the
Yeah.
narrative, and I did think that can play in its favor with the ending, or it could be an issue. And uh,
And I
uh,
think it was for a lot of people.
you think so? Yeah.
They, yeah, like I just like looked up some articles and just tried to get some intake some other viewpoints on the game because I loved it. I love the
Mhm.
ending, and then I was surprised when I found that some people hated it and were like, "This is an underdeveloped ending. This is not like the game was too simple and stuff like that." Which I didn't really close this game out feeling disappointed or um, like I like the developers led me along and then didn't pay anything off. Um, for me, the reason that is whenever I was playing the game, I was putting myself in Colt's shoes.
Mm.
And the reason that I chose my ending was because I knew what after laying out Colt's relationship to Juliana going into that final loop, I knew what Juliana wanted as a character or needed as a character. Um, and it's that she wants her dad back. That's why she's mad at him. They have this conflicted relationship because he's somewhat turned his back and left her mother, and there's all this backstory that's just hidden within notes in the game. But so going in, like I knew that everything reframed what the game was kind of for me trying to tell me was you've been wanting to end this loop this whole game, but it's reversing that now to where are you going to change? Are you going to break the loop or are you going to like change um, and not break the loop because of this new information, even though we're encouraging you to keep going forward? Um, so yeah, in that final confrontation, I was like, this isn't right because what Juliana's like for me to grow as a character, I felt I don't need to shoot her. She needs a father. And so that was why I went in and didn't was so like because I was like, is there gonna be a twist where I need to shoot her and like she's wrong? But for me, I was like, no, she knows she remembers more than me
Yeah.
as a character and she's trying to say like you're not gonna like what's out there and she just wants to spend time with her dad and so that was everything that weighed into my opinion
I think it's so.
or my
I
decision.
think it's so interesting that you described your play, like you play as a screenwriter, um, and I do that as well with all my games. And whenever there's a choice put in front of me, I'm always and it is one of these things. So
Taking in everything.
I've got this kind of controversial opinion about choice in games uh when
Narrative.
it comes to like choosing endings or choosing where this character lives or dies or
Yeah.
choosing where to save this person or not, that kind of stuff. And my problem with that sometimes is that I very rarely ever come across a game, and I'm sure there's loads of examples, and put them in the comments if you've got any suggestions. But when I think about some games where they give you a choice to save this character or to kill this character, like in Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, there's a chance you come
Hmm.
across this character called Quiet, and she's like this cool sniper, and you have a duel with her, and you have a chance to leave her for dead or bring her back to base with you. And
Hmm.
it's the most stupid choice in like game design history, I think. That's like the most unacademic statement I'm ever
How
going to
dare
make.
you?
But I hate that that's even a choice, because I think she's an amazing character. I know she got a lot of flack
Yeah,
for
yeah,
her
yeah,
outfit and all that in it, but I think
yeah.
she's a really cool character, and I think she's one of the strongest relationships that the protagonist has in
Hmm.
that game, right? And the idea that Kojima, this auteur of game design, has
Yeah.
thinks so little of the character that that he's happy
You
for.
could just not
Yeah,
experience
you
it.
can just write that character out, or that he thinks, or he
Yeah.
doesn't. I mean, when I've written a screenplay, where I've had like this really great relationship or whatever between these characters. I mean, you would have to. I would fight to the death to preserve to make sure that that stays in the script. If I got notes to say cut it or whatever, the
Yeah, yeah,
idea that he's created this pointless choice for you. So that really, those kind of things annoy me in games. Or I'll be
yeah,
playing a game where they might say, oh, you can kill this character, you can save this character or whatever, and or like an ending where it's like, do you sacrifice yourself or do you run or whatever. I'll always
yeah,
think, what is it that the character has been building to? Like, it's almost like the game itself is, finish this script. I've told a story. Now you get to
yeah, yeah,
choose how this story ends, which is literally what
yeah.
that is. But
Like if The Last of Us 2 did that, it would completely just wreck what the game was trying
yeah,
to say,
exactly,
I feel
exactly.
like.
Yeah, it would. There's the uh I can't remember what the game is called. It's the Stanley Parable. That's what it's called. Have you ever played that?
No, but I've heard of it.
And the idea is that there's a narrator, and you have to kind of go against what the narrator is telling you.
Okay.
Stanley
Yeah, yeah,
decided
yeah.
to leave work for the day or whatever, and it's like you decide not to
You
leave. And you're going against the
okay.
narrator, and um, I think anyway, if memory serves, but I'm pretty sure that if you just do what the narrator says, the game's like over really quickly. And I know that there are lots of games
Mhm.
where, like Far Cry games are like that, where you can just do nothing and you'll unlock a secret ending and the credits will start rolling after 5 minutes. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Far Cry 4, I think ended like that. Whereas if you just do nothing at the beginning, the credits will roll, the story will end. But like, that's clearly not the legitimate ending of the game, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
It's clearly not
Well, and
there.
that's
So why
that's
is
like
it
my
there?
biggest fear. That's my biggest fear as a like gamer, is missing out on something that the creator put in there for me to
Yeah.
discover, which feeds into whenever like there's games that don't reward you for looking around for stuff, which Deathloop does a great job at, I think. It encourages you to explore.
Mhm.
So,
No, I think, yeah, and that's the same feeling I have. I'm thinking, am I gonna miss out on this character doing something cool later on if I kill them now? Or
yeah, yeah.
like, you've got this famous actor playing this character, and you want me to remove that character from the game? Like, why would I do that? Like, why
Yeah,
would I
yeah.
remove this big A-list movie star from this game when I could have them with me all the way to the end? That kind of stuff. I think Call of Duty Black Ops 2 did that or something. Anyway, the point
Yeah,
is, um, I very much approach those kind of choices with
yeah.
with the idea of, I really want to experience the best story, because I paid a
Mhm.
lot of money for this game, and I want to make sure that I'm getting what I feel is like the story that the designers want me. Because that's how you play
Yes.
games, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how we play games. We walk into a
Yeah,
room and
yeah.
we see a bunch of ammunition, and we think, well, there's obviously a boss fight coming.
Yeah.
We're always thinking, what's the game designer want us to do? The game designer wants
Yeah.
me to stock up on ammunition because, or the game
Yeah.
designer wants me to go here where this light is flickering in distant, and over in that alleyway or whatever. Um, we're always trying to put ourselves in the shoes of the designer, and I do feel that when games give us those kind of big narrative choices, uh, it seems, at least for the two of us,
It can
that's how we approach
yeah.
them. And maybe it's because we're screenwriters, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, the perfect example is of what you're talking about is Last of Us 2, where they had a clear story to tell,
Yeah.
and that rubbed people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
we probably shouldn't get too much into that.
Yeah. That's another episode.
Yeah.
Daily episode
But
here.
yeah,
Script Department.
with the choice that you made, like, did you feel like the ending to your story was good?
It's interesting. I do, in the sense that I love the idea. See, I'm annoyed that you told me there's another ending where there's like a happy ending. I really don't like that because I had this great idea for a sequel to Deathloop, and now that's completely undermined.
I will say no. You're fine, because I will say what I found is that people believe that your ending is the true ending.
But don't you hate that that's
Which
even a thing? That there's like a true ending?
I well, yeah, no, exactly, because I would argue the exact opposite. That is not the true
Yeah,
ending.
that's interesting.
The point of the game is to keep playing. And that was what was beautiful to me, and this is all my opinion,
Mm,
um but what was beautiful about my ending was I so the the developers are Juliana and I am Colt, and they're asking me to keep playing their game, basically.
okay.
So there's like this beautiful like meta
Mm,
in the game of them, and it says like, I mean, not that they want you to keep playing for forever, but it's kind of this
mm,
invitation that felt like a nice little
yeah.
message to me. And it says it at the end of the credits, is like, thank you for
Yeah, yeah,
playing,
yeah,
which
yeah.
a lot of games do that. But to me, there was this nice, like, just it was it's like comfort of
Yeah.
them just being like, thanks for playing, like,
I
with, and that's what Juliana and Colt's relationship became for my playthrough,
yeah. No,
and leading out
I
of
totally agree.
where I
I think
separate.
they seem like the nicest bunch of game developers. I don't know anything about them. I don't know what their deal is, but I just thought
Yeah,
I want to send them flowers for designing a game like this and being so cool, you know. The thing about my ending, you know, and killing Juliana and then seeing the two of them on the beach at the end and her walking away kind of disappointed almost. I
hmm
thought that felt right to me because I thought this,
yeah,
if I was writing this as a screenplay, like as a movie,
yeah,
this would be a tragic loop because
exactly,
this is a
yeah.
man who's failed his daughter. And
hmm
we can go along the idea that he can make things right, but I don't think you can open a game with your daughter stabbing you to death on the and then hope that there's
and then
and then have a real credible resolution at the end where they're like, you
yeah,
know, hey
like
dad, you know, uh,
yeah,
I
which it does.
yeah, I don't know, I just felt, but I like the way, like I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
what you've described to me as the ending,
yeah,
and I'll have to go and check it out on YouTube. But I don't like the
yeah.
idea that this game that had an otherwise brilliant, like for me anyway, had this perfectly designed narrative, which is a hard thing to
hmm
do in games. Uh, didn't have a clear vision for how it should end. I don't know,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
It obviously does have a clear vision. I want to be careful how I say that. Um, it seems like either of them would be totally great, which you can say for most games that give you choices.
hmm
But it seems like either of these would be a great ending. I think I would have preferred a definitive,
A definitive,
like
yeah.
not because I'm a guy who needs closure, but just I want to know that these designers know how to tell this story. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and I think it's like, I think it's interesting because like games are the one of the only mediums where you have that choice, like you have the agency that you can add in multiple endings.
Hmm.
Um, so I think it is interesting because that's where it differs from a movie
Hmm.
or even just more cinematic games. Um, and but that's, to me, what makes this game so good is that it's such a simple story where the story informs the gameplay. Um, so I don't know. That's why it feels just so complete.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Uh, I wanted to, you know, I mentioned before that there's like this master stroke in the game for me, and
Was it the guy getting launched from a cannon?
It was the guy getting launched. No, it wasn't. I can't remember actually the guy getting launched from. Oh yeah, I do. Do I? I can't remember. Um,
It's an up dam.
there's so many.
There's a massive cannon.
There's so many amazing deaths in that game. It's amazing. No, it
Oh
is
yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
The thing that I just thought was incredible about this game, right? So, if you've ever played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, that game,
I haven't.
I love and hate that game in equal measure. I think it's got cool story, cool Star Wars, immersive experience. There's also this real head scratching thing about it, right? Where along the way, there's like these meditation points, which are basically like checkpoints, but they're like campfires in Demon Souls or Bloodborne or whatever. They're
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
those kind of save moments, right? Or there's moments where you
Yeah.
can go back to the Nexus or whatever, in Demon Souls. But so you come across this little meditation point, you can sit down and you can replenish your health and you can upgrade your weapons and all that kind of stuff, or you can upgrade your powers, whatever. You spend your upgrade points. But if you want to replenish your health, it comes at the cost of respawning all the enemies on the map. Right? So all the enemies that you've killed, just like Demon Souls or whatever, if you use this checkpoint system, or this kind of place where you would go back to upgrade and then go back into the game again, the cost of doing that is that all the characters get reinforced. Now that's fine if it's whatever, if that's what the game designers want to do. The problem I have with that is there's no narrative sense within this Star Wars story, and it is very much a story-driven game.
Yeah.
Why that happens. It makes sense in Demon Souls. It makes sense in those kind of Soulsborne games. It makes zero sense in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, right? And on a kind of broader level, and this is where I kind of start to sound like a kind of crazy person here, but when you play games, like I was playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider recently, because it looks amazing on a PS5.
Really?
I was playing it, or maybe it's just my TV or whatever, but I was playing it, and as I was dying in the game, I couldn't help but be reminded, like, you'd fall off a ledge, or you'd jump to catch a ledge and you'd, miss it and you'd fall to your death, or, something. And I would always think back to Deathloop about how perfectly married together the game mechanics and the narrative are, more than any game I can think of, even games like Demon Souls, which do that really well. In Tomb Raider, you shouldn't be able to die. Now, of course, you have to kind of die in order for the game to be challenging, but in Uncharted, Tomb Raider, Metal Gear Solid, any of these types of games, you shouldn't be able to die because it's a narrative-driven game and the character isn't able to resurrect themselves. It's the game giving you another chance. It's the designer giving you another chance at the game. But the story doesn't reflect that ability to come back from the dead, so to speak. It's like the death didn't happen. It didn't really happen. Don't worry, And to me, I don't have a problem with it, but it started to make me think, and Deathloop has made me think like this now, where I start to I'm aware of that disconnect that exists between the player and the gaming experience. There's so much about games that we have to kind of just pretend aren't happening, or there are so many moments in games where you have to kind of just not think about it, because if you think about it, it doesn't quite make sense with the experience that you're in. They talk about immersion breaking experiences, whatever, in games, and I don't think there's anything more immersion breaking than dying in a game and then getting rebooted, so to speak, or restarting at a checkpoint, because it's not happening in the narrative. Now, sorry, the point I'm trying to make is that in Deathloop, when you die, not only is it part of that narrative because you're starting that loop again, Juliana will even make fun of you for dying. So it's like embedded into the narrative of the game. It's embedded into the character's experiences. Oh God, I hope I don't die again because Juliana will make fun of me. Like you can imagine Colt saying that to himself, or Colt wakes up on the beach and he's like, "Oh, Juliana's not gonna let me forget that one." And I've never seen a game, and if it sounds like I'm really excited about this, it's because I think it's really important. I've never seen a game do such a great job of creating that perfect synchronization between what I'm doing with my controller and what the characters are
Yeah.
supposed to be doing in that world in terms of their lived experiences in that world.
Yeah.
And it almost makes me want game designers to eradicate fail states entirely from a game. Because this is a game
Yeah.
where they're saying don't fail or you go back to the beginning. And yet, because of the way it's incorporated into the narrative, it's like there's no fail state.
Yeah.
Like you say, you
Yeah.
fail upwards,
Yeah.
which is not failure at all.
Well, and it's so like it all works together so
Mm.
well and is such a good concept. Um, I don't think it would be good to have every game be uh, in a loop,
Yeah,
like a
no, no, no,
Deathloop
no,
loop.
no.
I know you're not saying that, but that's not the answer.
I don't know how you
But yeah,
do
no,
it.
I get what you're saying.
I don't know how you do it for other games. I don't know how you do it for Metal Gear Solid. I don't know how you do it for Tomb Raider or whatever. And maybe you can. Maybe that's
Yeah,
fine. Those are the games. That's the way they're made. They're great games.
yeah,
I love the idea that Deathloop, there's no moment in the game where I'm thinking, okay, that didn't really happen though in the story.
yeah,
It,
yeah. No, I get what you're.
it's
It's taking the immersion away
yeah,
for sure.
it's and
I
and and actually
yeah.
this game is more immersive
Hmm.
than some of the $200 million games that or the $100 million games that come out every year.
This could be a good VR game.
It could be actually. It definitely has the graphic.
Maybe too quick, but
Yeah, I think you get motion sickness playing it. Maybe I dusted off my VR
yeah,
headset recently, and I forgot how quick I get motion sickness from that thing. I think I'm just going to use it for
yeah,
movies. Okay, so uh,
yeah.
coming to the end of the discussion, what are the key takeaways from you as somebody writing for games, somebody writing for movies, whatever? What are the kind of the core kind of real, I don't know, takeaways for you as a writer from this game? What can we learn from this game?
So I think I had this experience with It Takes Two also, where these both of these games are, which It Takes Two won Game of the Year, um, but both of these games are so simple in narrative, where it kind of lays out the the plot within the first 10 to 15 minutes, and then everything else, obviously, in Deathloop, you learn as you go. But like we said, there's no cutscenes really, especially like any up until the end. Um, but I think in this game and It Takes Two, they both have done something where the gameplay is it really does inform everything you or sorry, the story really informs everything that you do in the gameplay. And it's all like the concept is just so well conceived that it all is cohesive. And but it's so simple. And so I think that that's where games have gotten to where they become so complex that there's so many game mechanics, there's so many like skill trees. It's an 80-hour plus game, but you're doing 40 hours of fetch quests. And this game uses and respects the player's time so well, um, while telling the story. And so everything that you're uncovering is just so well written, um, that for me it was just a such a nice thing to experience, especially from the writing standpoint of feeling like my time was valued.
Mm.
Um,
It's respect for the
and
audience, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, well, and on top of that, it's such good writing that you want to partake in it.
Mm.
And so like the other takeaway I would say is just the dialogue. The dialogue drives this story, like within like Juliana and Colt really only have like one meeting or one or two meetings that you experience besides killing her,
Mm.
because all the dialogue happens in like in the speaker and the controller and then you talking to her. And so that was just the I feel like the standout for me was these characters' voices, and the dialogue that they had between each other.
I had to turn down the volume on my controller, uh, and it pained me to do it because Juliana was so, like, the voice actor who portrays Juliana is so good, and the
Yeah.
delivery of the performance is so strong that uh like yeah, just it was too like real. Like people walking past my house probably were wondering, or
Yeah.
or people in the other room were probably thinking, is
Who's
John on the phone with somebody? Like
yeah.
who's yelling at John? It
Why
was just
why
so
does he have a
it was
walkie-talkie?
so believable. Like it was like I was on loudspeaker on WhatsApp or something, and there was somebody yelling
Yeah,
at me on
yeah.
the other end. It was just so good, so believable, so credible.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like um, somebody in a game talking to another character. It felt like somebody talking to me, and I love that. I thought that was so amazing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, Colt's VO is just or
yeah,
not even VO, but his dialogue
mm,
to himself, like such a cool character that you can grasp so easily because they just like everything that he says fits within that character and builds on it. Sorry, the last thing that would be the thing that stuck out for me that I forgot about was the so at the end you hit the passwords to get into the hangar. Before you know them, did you keep pressing the button like to try to guess the passwords, like but the three words
oh yeah, no, to get into the
to the hangar?
where the plane is to fly off to
Yeah.
land. No, I didn't. I mean I did exactly what the
Oh
game told me
man.
to do. Can you crack it?
No, no. So, and that's what I wondered is like what they did here. And this is how like so developed the game is they thought maybe there's a player that's gonna try and
So
guess the
just to say,
password.
this is like there's a security system. You need to get the password in order, and
Yeah,
it's three phrases that you have to learn.
yeah,
Yeah,
that you don't remember.
yeah,
And so like then that leads into you trying to figure those
mm,
out through going to other areas of the maps. Um, but so whenever you figure this out, you can choose to keep guessing by pressing the button that makes Colt say words. I pressed it about 30 times, and every single time it was a funny new word that he's
really.
guessing. And like the voice actor just does such a good job of like having the him guessing but coming up with silly stuff that kind of fits within his character and what you've already learned. It's I'm sure there's a video on it, but it was my favorite part of the
But
game because like
that's so much of what writing is for games, isn't it? It's writing
yeah,
stuff that most players will never experience because you've got to think about every variable. You've got
yeah,
and most
yeah,
games would have just cut you off at that point, at a certain
yeah,
point, or they would have just blocked out the ability to do it. But
yeah. And it was either 20 or 30 times of new like lines that they had to record
mm,
that most people will probably not
but
think about or
it's almost
experience.
like they're aware of the rules of the world they've created. This is a game that is about experimentation. Okay, I kill this
Hmm.
person. Can I
Yeah,
kill them in a faster way? Can I kill them in a way where it's more efficient and I can get the other people as well? Or, it's learning the maps, learning the roads, all that. And I think it's almost like, yeah, let's incorporate that into every component. Um,
yeah,
it's really great.
yeah,
I think for me, the big takeaway was what I said. The idea of like marrying all your ideas together so that um, it's not just it's that they're not just tokenistic ideas of, oh, this is open world but there's no reason for it to be open world, or this is um it's a first person shooter but we've designed the world in a way where it doesn't affect, third person first person doesn't really affect you, or in this instance the idea of like dying actually meaning something in this game, something that's been happening to every player more times than we can count on every game almost for our entire years as gamers, and yet they found a new way, or what feels like a very fresh way of approaching that kind of thing. um I love that idea of marrying all those ideas together. The other thing that I really love about this is backtracking. I love good backtracking in video games, and it doesn't get enough attention in terms of like game design discourse. Metal Gear Solid, I've mentioned already, has the best backtracking I've ever played in games, where you go, like, you have to go back to that place, but now that door is open, whereas before it was closed. And so many games do that, but there's something about Metal Gear Solid where it takes such a small map, which it is actually a very, very small map when you think about it, and they give so much life to, so much more longevity to that map. And it's just really efficient game design. You don't, a game in 2022 or 2021 shouldn't take 8 years to build Cyberpunk, right? And we'll get into Cyberpunk another day, because I really like Cyberpunk. Don't get me wrong, I like it, but it shouldn't take 8 years to build what we got. And there are ways to recycle environments. There are ways to engage players without having to give them a massive map that's been built to meticulous detail. Yeah. And I love what Deathloop does here. I imagine this was a very fast game to build. I get the feeling, I don't know how long it took, but I get the feeling this wasn't like a 5-year ordeal, right? And I think a big part of that is the way that they've made such great use of every single bit of space in that game. It's some of the best designed stages. There's only 4 of them, but they immediately, just by adding the extra time zones, they immediately quadruple that. Yeah, and it's and then some, and it's just amazing. It's just really great.
Well, and like even just the hidden areas, like the vault, the gun vault, that you have to go to.
Did you do Charlie Montague's games? His like laser things?
I tried like 3 or 4 times to get to do the presents, and just died every single time. Yeah. or ruined it every single time. The most frustrating time was one time I found a little like tunnel to crawl through underneath one of the warehouses. Yeah. Got to the end and it was like, had already died twice, and it was like, oh, what's this? Like, it must lead out to the outside, and step off into the water and just die.
Yeah, no, it is a game that can be immensely frustrating in some parts, but yeah, it is really great. And I think there's a lot to be learned here, and I think it's one of those games that if I was still teaching game design, this would be on my curriculum moving forward. And yeah, definitely, I think, I hope the franchise goes somewhere. Where do you think the franchise could go next, assuming it becomes a franchise?
I would be fine with it ending. Like, they can franchise it and do another idea. But for me, I felt like I could be fine with, at least with the ending that I got, I could be fine with them not coming back to Colt and Juliana. But I think the world that they've set up outside of the loop already suggests a franchise, which I would be fine with also. So, because the game is so good, I think they'll have to break away from the exact same idea. They'll have to develop a little bit differently, I think.
I had an idea where it would be Colt and Juliana have to work together because somebody's weaponized the loop. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But in order to kind of take that whole time thing to a new level, you can either you have to play as both Juliana and Colt, and the puzzle becomes Juliana's a few hours ahead of you. Sorry, kicked my mic.
Yes.
Juliana's a few hours ahead of you, or Colt is a few hours ahead of Juliana, whatever. And one character has to lay the groundwork for another character. So, like, you're going to have to open, if you open that door now and leave it open, when it's Colt's turn, that door is suddenly open. And now you've got that kind of thing where both characters can work together, and
I would enjoy
on
that.
different time levels, and imagine a kind of a co-op kind of component to that as well.
I would love co-op too. Yeah.
But you could do, you could either do it where you have to jump back and forth between, you have to use the two characters creatively to help each other,
Yeah.
and you could still do the whole thing of we hate each other's guts or whatever. I don't know. If you
Yeah.
wanted to,
Yeah.
I think you could do something. I don't know. I was having fun with that idea, but I do think
Yeah.
them together in the next game, if there is another game, is the logical step forward.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you could keep building those kind of puzzle elements onto it using that kind of gaming experience.
I think changing the map
Mm.
is important
Yeah.
because I will say that by the end of this game, I was ready for it to be over. Even though I loved every minute of it, up until like once I got to my last loop, and maybe this was because I was trying to finish it and get it done so we could talk about it. But it was the perfect length, I think, because by the end of it, you are wanting to break the loop, which kind of goes against the ending that I chose, honestly.
Yeah, no, I thought, yeah, it was perfectly paced, great length. I think the twist of the truth of Juliana, who Juliana is to Colt, I think could have been lingered. They could have lingered on that a little bit more instead of it just being a bit of a voiceover. I think
Yeah.
letting that sit with the characters or with the player for a few minutes or a minute even, rather than it just being that thing that you're listening to while you're playing.
Yeah.
You know.
I did see that you can find the truth pretty early on, depending on if
Oh,
you get
okay.
into that vault pretty like quickly. Um, I don't know how, but yeah, I saw someone say that you can get there get to that truth
Yeah.
pretty quickly, and then it doesn't feel as important because like it's kind of a reveal for the near end game. Um, but I think it's interesting that they allow you to do that.
It didn't feel like it was, and maybe that's why I killed her in the game, is because it didn't feel like that. It was like, oh wow, okay, that's cool, but it was up to me
Yeah.
to decide that that's cool. It didn't. It didn't feel
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
storyteller was trying to say, dun dun dun. You know, this is
Yeah.
a thing to kind of like stop the, hit the brakes on. Um, and
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know. I feel like that was the
I
only story beat where I thought maybe a little bit more time on that.
Yeah, and maybe what led into the choice that I made was I feel like I figured it out pretty quickly, or at least like caught on to what they were doing with her and Colt. Where at the beginning it's kind of like, oh, are they lovers? And they even reference that and make jokes about that. But I think that there's like a deeper feeling there um, that I picked up on and kind of saw these characters that they were creating and how they were using the story to push like Juliana's like needs as like a broken character and how Colt has affected her. So I think I had all this going on in my mind while playing the game before it was revealed. So maybe that's why I felt a little bit more connection of going into that final scene with empathy towards like it may not be what Colt wants, but it's about him being a failed father who's has the choice to fix it or not. Because for me, I kind of feel like there's no change with the true ending in Colt's character.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, I agree.
I don't know if that's so that's why I kind of argue that is it the true ending? Because he doesn't really change.
Yeah. Everyone's going to go to town on us now for what is a true ending. Yeah, it's I don't know if I didn't think Cole's character. I never felt throughout the story Cole's character was trying to change. I felt like Cole's character was trying that he was too interested in self-preservation, and that's not
Yeah.
a problem.
No, I agree.
It felt like that's the
Yeah.
kind of game this is. It's not a one-dimensional
Yeah.
character, but it's not exactly. We're not. It's not Nathan Drake trying to save his marriage or anything like that, while also trying to save the world or whatever. It's just this guy who just wants to get off this rock,
Yeah.
and I think either ending can work for that.
Yeah.
And I think
yeah.
because I played it several more times again to get the trophies, and I kept killing Juliana every single time. So there must be some.
So you didn't even unlock.
So I didn't. I never saw the other one. So I think it
Yeah.
says something about the character and the way the character is presented in the game that I never felt a desire for that character to do anything different. I don't know. That's just me. I think at this point it's time to wrap things up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to us on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts from for daily videos like this. And check us out on social media and all that good stuff. And check out our website as well, thescriptdepartment.net. We'll be back tomorrow with another video. Thanks for listening, guys.